tell you another story about the philosopher's way. Once he was walking by where they were beating up a pig, and he felt pity, and he said, "Stop! Don't hit him. That's the soul of a friend of mine. I know his yelp when I hear
All right. We're live. This is Transparency and Merit. My name is JP, and I'm here with Brian. And Brian is bitter about some mothers. Why don't you go ahead and line it up?
Well, Joe, I am a tad bitter about these mothers. I think, you know what? Look, I certainly could be wrong, and I've been wrong in the past about like the John Wayne statue, and we did a retraction. I think I might put that show in private. But I think these Portland moms are, I think they're gaslighting people. I think they're pretending to stand with peaceful protesters, but Joe, these are not peaceful protesters. Now, the Portland riots and unrest has gone on, I think, for like 55 days, and they just put in federal police to basically guard the federal property. And if you look at that the federal property, there's been graffiti written on it. I think they broke into the place. So they are there protecting property. And these Portland mothers are there protesting the federal police. And they're just you know what, I could be absolutely wrong, but they seem like virtue signalers to me.
Former FBI Director James Comey writes today that while it might be legal for federal agents to invade Portland, it's also really stupid. After spelling out exactly how stupid it is, he asks us a question. So it's dumb and self-defeating on many levels for the feds to engage the way they have in Portland. No sensible law enforcement leader would approach it this way, which begs a question. Is televised conflict the goal? Interesting.
Okay. So again, and I think the media and a lot of these protesters are gaslighting people. And like I said, look at the way those federal buildings look. I mean, they've got graffiti all over them. If you can Google, the Portland federal buildings and take a look at them. And the media is not I don't think the media is showing the whole story, Joe. And
let's look at this clip. We won't play much of it. Play about 30 seconds. There's that tagging you're talking about.
Yeah. Look at the building.
Get back. They're getting shot at.
You just violated their rights.
Kidnapping people.
You just violated their rights.
After seeing the footage, Bev Barnum organized moms on Facebook I didn't know that's where it came from. There's a Facebook group, I guess. And they created a wall of moms to shield protesters from the federal officers.
Okay, so they're pretending like they're guarding the buildings and they're violating people's rights. Not so much. I mean, not so much. Like, if the police are these federal police officers, if they see you committing a crime, they can arrest you, and it's not unmarked. You know, like unmarked vehicles and this, dude. They're not being whisked away. I haven't heard anything where they're being whisked away and blindfolded and then dug into a ditch. No, that's not happening. This is not Gestapo-like tactics. It's just, you know, I can't believe how much the American public seems to be being gaslit by these people. It's unbelievable to me. You know what's going on here, Joe.
Well, why don't you lay it plain? What's the issue here?
The issue, okay, for me, the issue here is the federal police are there to protect buildings that were under siege for like 5 weeks, and they had actually, I believe, they had actually broken in to the building, like they had like charged the federal building. So they're there protecting federal property. And like that there's graffiti, I mean, the kind of graffiti that there is on this federal property is just astounding to me. Now, I by the way, Joe, I tweeted to you just a quick, because Mayor Wheeler was out with the protesters yesterday. And if you want to take a look real quick on exactly what he had to contend with, if you go to your Twitter, Joe.
Yeah, is it the most recent from Patrick Brockman?
Yes, I believe, yeah. That's a, yeah.
All right, let me just...
So, yeah. And, look, he was...
yeah.
He was out there and kind of, to a degree, seems like he was encouraging the violence. And I guess the people in Portland, I guess, stand in support of him. Kind of hard to believe. But this right here is a clip.
You're gonna be here every fucking night. Fuck you, Ted! Fuck you, pussies!
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. And the mayor was there trying to support them. But they don't give, they really don't care.
Yes, Ted Wheeler is escorted to safety by a security team. Angry protesters follow and try to assault him despite his support on the front lines of the riot. They try to go inside, but they're pushed back by his beefy security men.
You know, Ted Wheeler has gone on record saying he doesn't, what did he say? Ted Wheeler on speech, let's see, Ted Wheeler believes in free speech but not hate speech, which I wonder if those gentlemen that were talking, was that hate speech that they were directing at him, trying to attack him? You know?
Well, yeah, what did you hear them say? You know?
I mean, well, they were saying F you and a lot of other things. And a lot of these guys who believe in hate speech, well, that's very aggressive and very, I wonder if that's considered loving speech. But I guess after all they've been through, I guess they have a right to do that, right, Joe?
Imagine, yeah. Can you imagine that? And Ted
Yeah.
Wheeler's on the front line with them, supposedly.
Yeah, and they were still, I mean, they were telling them F you the whole time. You know? If these are your friends, who are your enemies, Teddy?
I'm not sure what they're getting at here. What's their, what is their stand here? Is it the Black Lives Matter? Is it,
Dude,
do they want to get rid of the police?
I think they're just angry anarchists who don't want
Yeah.
like any rules whatsoever, and they're just
Is it the
anyone
kind of
who's
thing where
in
you
a
ask
position
10
of power. Yeah, in any white person that's in any position of power, even though most of them are white themselves, they want to get rid of them.
Is it the kind of deal where if you ask 10 different people their opinions on what the real issue is, are you going to get 10 different answers?
Probably, but they can all agree. F Ted Wheeler. That's all. If they said, let's all agree, F Ted Wheeler. There was F Ted Wheeler,
Mhm.
F the police, F America.
Right.
So it is what it is. I mean, is this what our large cities are becoming now? Joe, when you were in Portland, did you come across anything like this?
Yeah, there were protests, and I didn't engage in them. I just remember going downtown, and it just seemed like there was always something going on. I think at the time there was a lot of Native American protests, and of course the parks were the downtown Portland area was filled with all kinds of drug addicts and all kinds of dirty dealings, where you could walk by that park at various times throughout the week, and you'd see the same people, loitering. So it was an interesting time then. I can imagine now it's probably 10 times as mad.
You know what? And I'm assuming a lot of these Antifa groups are the groups that you probably caught loitering. Like, you could probably go, there's Psycho Joe, Timmy right there, shouting in Ted's face. He's always pissed off, and give him a reason like, oh, we're fascist and this and that or whatever, and just a few more. I mean, it seems it's gotten even crazier, and these are weirdos.
Yeah, it's always prided itself on there are signs everywhere, keep Portland weird. So it's definitely got this that in itself was sort of like a liberal agenda. There's an arts district in downtown Portland, Oregon. I can't remember if it was Lincoln Street or Southeast Portland. I can't remember exactly. But it was. I remember this art district had the whole meme out throughout the city of keep Portland weird, and it was very leftist. And when I was living there, was roommates with a law student who was studying environmental law, and hung out with this group of liberal-minded wannabe lawyers. Yeah.
By the way, I wanted to mention that Ted Wheeler has stated that hate speech is not he doesn't believe that hate speech is protected by the First Amendment, and I wonder what he thinks is hate speech, because
the devil's in the details, isn't it?
Yeah, because it's very arbitrary, because that didn't look like loving speech or like speech.
No, I hate you. Is that hate speech?
Yeah. I mean,
come on.
I mean, the thing of it is, this wasn't even people that dislike. This speech was about like hate. Like they wanted to do him physical harm. And very arbitrary on how he defines hate speech. And he's protected Antifa for a long time.
Yeah, you also got to remember not to believe everything you see in the media, And I always keep that caustic eye, just because you see something on a newscast. I don't know.
That's true. Joe, that is true. And the truth is, there have been reports that Andy Ngo, the person that this Twitter feed is on, they said that he's manipulated. But for me, I kind of doubt it. I don't think he's manipulating at all. I think the mainstream media and the internet, it looks like it's the one that's censoring and not being transparent.
Here's a podcast. I'm curious. Let's just hear a few seconds of it. I'm just kind of jumping into part of it. It's called Black Lives Matter, the mission statement explored. And the podcast is Perception Erection. And I just came across this just looking through some stuff today. And I just want to play a few seconds here. We'll see what they say.
130,000 deaths from COVID right now?
I don't know. So I'm very confused. Well, let's talk about these beloved communities. Recently, Donald Trump came out and he was attacked because he made a false statement. And I want to clarify this right now. He said the majority of most crime-ridden neighborhoods are run by Democrats. I don't know if you remember this a couple weeks ago, and everybody and their brother come out and wave their arms, and again, he's telling lies. Number one is Detroit. The violent crime rate is 20 per every 1,000 residents, so the odds of being a victim are 1 in 50. Number two, I need to go back. The mayor, Michael Edward Duggan, is a Democrat. So he's right on that one. That's number one. That's number one. This is 2019. Number two, Memphis, Tennessee. Jim Strickland is the mayor, also Democrat, so 2 for 2. Number 3 is Birmingham, Alabama. The mayor is Randolph Woodfin, also a Democrat. We're 3 for 3. Number 4 is Baltimore. Mayor Jack Young is also a Democrat. That's 4 for 4, right?
Yeah, I'm counting over here.
Number 5 is Flint, Michigan. Mayor Karen Weaver is also a Democrat.
What do you think?
Well, I mean, they're making some points, and I've heard that before.
They're making points, but they're also showing how the media tries to spin these things and create liars where there's not a lie being told. Yeah. I'm far from being a supporter of any of the presidential nominees, but if you're going to call somebody a liar because of a statement he made, you better be right.
Absolutely. And here's my thing. Donald Trump is my president. Barack Obama was my president. And when he was my president, I would have said Barack Obama is my president. And they, whether they're my president or not doesn't make him my daddy or my friend. And people get like Donald Trump is my president, but that doesn't make him my father. That doesn't make him even my friend. It just means he's the president right now. He's the president of the country that I live in. Do I agree with everything he does? Probably not. Would I go about it differently? Probably, but they ain't elected me to that damn job. So it's like people just get so, it seems like so many people are just so wrapped up and so emotional over this situation. And I'll be honest with you, Joe, I've become very angry, and I probably shouldn't, but what I see is kind of gaslighting by the mainstream media.
Exactly. That's it.
And I don't like that. You know what? Put out the entire thing. Don't just show what you think, for your side to win. That's just, I feel like I'm being manipulated in a way in which I've never been manipulated before.
Why don't we get your cousin back here? Seems to be pretty good, show friendly, and ask him what he's seeing right now and what his perceptions are of Portland, because right now, and Darren made the good point too, the locals there are not too thrilled, the people not involved in these protests, because they realize that they've got the nation's attention right now.
Yeah. And some of these people, to me, some of these people, in my opinion, a lot of these people that are doing this, who are out there, whether they're peaceful protesters or they're violent, I think they're all a bunch of virtue signalers at this point, including that Navy vet. And Seal Halil says, media sucks. It's neither entertainment or news at this point. Mainstream monopolies are
Ruining everything.
Yeah, I mean, and that's just the way it is. What it seems like that you have right now are activist journalists. And I'm just,
Thank you for joining the show, by the way, Z Hilal. Very nice. It's always good to get new faces around here.
Yeah, we don't get that many.
We appreciate the comments, for sure.
Yeah. But, I mean, it kind of is what it is. And Mayor Ted Wheeler, who is what is he? I think he comes from, he's a sixth generation Oregonian. Wheeler was born to a Portland family with roots in Oregon in the timber industry. His father, Sam Wheeler, was vice president at Willamette Industry, a Fortune 500 lumber company formed in 1967. So Wheeler comes from money.
Now, self-made. It's a self-made family. It sounds like.
Yeah, but and I don't know. I don't know if these individuals really believe the stuff. I mean, I wonder if Ted Wheeler really believes what he's saying, or he says whatever will get him in power.
Well, what do we know from every other politician?
Yeah.
And the media isn't helping. You can't trust anything you see. Propaganda is at its, I don't know if it's at its all-time high, but it's certainly really bad right now. They support these ideas too, that influence of the home is a distraction. In other words, come out and listen to our agendas and act like a revolutionary. It's this kind of mass psychology, and propaganda has helped push that mass psychology like a wildfire. And the media is certainly a huge factor in that. I think in past generations, systems like education and religion were more relied upon to help further these kind of causes. But I think to some degree now religion especially has been kind of broken down, and it isn't the factor in this mass psychology. Certainly not as important as education, and education even is it's in the process of getting ripped apart as we speak. So, well, I'm glad. Hopefully, some of that stuff's resonating, to some extent. But they try to get with education, they can get the kids young. I think 10 years old is kind of the target age, and if not, it's like this idea of breaking apart the families, and listen to us. We're your new family, and it's kind of wow. It's taken on something that I don't think we've seen in our lifetime.
Yeah. I've never. You know what? I mean, and I'll tell you something. And maybe I just wasn't, maybe because the media the mainstream media for a long time was on my side. I never recognized it, but right now, man, I really do recognize, like that there's a lot of manipulation going on, or what feels like manipulation, what feels like gaslighting, and I go back to this person I was talking to on Twitter, and I started to ask her questions like, what do you think on this? What do you think on that? And she would kind of like ask me questions to my questions. And I said, it sounds like you're kind of gaslighting me. She admitted it, that she was gaslighting me, because the topics that I was bringing up to her didn't fit her narrative. And she said, but you have to understand, I'm very biased. And, when you're so biased, you won't listen to the other person. And maybe, I may have been that way at one time, but I'm not that way anymore, because I know what it's like to have somebody so brainwashed that they just don't want to listen. And the media should be the one. I mean, the media, from my understanding, the media goes out and strives to censor the internet. The mainstream media goes out and strives to censor the internet, and then they put out what they want, and they don't put on it. They only put out people who agree with their agenda, and then they go out and basically censor the internet. And this is with the help of governmental big business HR departments that like books, that like Black Lives Matter, that like books like White Fragility, and like people like Tim Wise, and don't want them to be questioned. So they shut down anything that will go against their narrative. And if you push too hard, they have this thing called hate speech. What Ted Wheeler believes, that hate speech is not protected by the First Amendment. Well, there's no legal basis for that. But companies all across this country can have speech guidelines and can influence the internet to have hate speech guidelines. And this is something that looks to be worldwide. So, yeah, that's interesting what he says. Yes.
Go ahead.
He said, yes, we've been empowered at the same time with knowledge only scribes and Pharisees would get in the past because of social evolution and technology. This is true, by the way. What's unfortunate, by the way, is the information age has now become the censorship age. What used to be an easy find on Google and on YouTube, they've scrubbed completely away. There are subjects that you are forbidden to talk about on YouTube. Or if you talk about them too much, you could be done away with because of so-called hate speech. Now, the hate speech that they've implemented, it's very arbitrary. There's no real set guidelines, and they don't really explain themselves that often. So it's done under. I mean, if you really want to know, like where the secret police are the secret, I would say, speech police, because they talk about the secret police in Portland arresting so-called peaceful protesters. I wonder if we could find out who the secret censors are on the internet.
Yeah.
You know? Because I'm sure we can find out who every one of these federal officers are.
It's a good point. Data is king. It's no longer the dollar. And,
Yeah.
Facebook is proving that, as are all the social networks who are.
And you know what?
It's the information that we've been willingly been giving away.
And I'll tell you something, Joe. We want to be a place of freedom of speech. That's one of the reasons why we're starting our organization and our website. We're still working on that. We're still finding a little bit of the seed money that we can find. Not only for our own program, but for others to have open and honest discussions. Because obviously the mainstream media only wants you to think one way. And it's both corporate and government. I mean, Joe, you were just talking about NPR.
Yeah.
And what they were saying. It's like,
it's every day is a tearjerker with them.
Yeah.
I've never heard so much preposterous nonsense, and then every other commercial break they're asking for money.
Yeah.
Listener supported. Give me a break.
Yeah, they sell info. He's right. They sell info, and then they censor. And this is, like I said, this is large corporations and government and large government are in cahoots to censor what you believe, to control your speech. It's kind of like 1984. If you think wrongly, and you even examine certain facts, you can be in deep, deep doo-doo. I mean, hell, you can be canceled. If you get into an altercation with somebody and you happen to be the wrong skin color and you're even accused of racism, you could be canceled. And I mean, is it really the court of public opinion? I mean, it's almost like, who makes these people judge, jury, and executioner? And this is what the internet does. They cancel people, but if you fight against cancel culture, guess what? They try to cancel you as well. So it's an interesting thing out there, Joe. Is there anything else to add before we close it down?
Thank you for the subscription there from Z. Everyone counts. So hopefully we can do that every day. Add a new person that's interested in hearing us and can contribute just as much. So we appreciate it. Anything else, Brian?
You know what? No, just like and subscribe, and we'll go on to some more interesting topics. I feel like, again, and I could be wrong, but these Portland moms, that Navy veteran, I feel that there's a lot of virtue signaling going along with these individuals and a lot of gaslighting.
You're gonna be here every fucking night.